Okay, guys, this is our 12-week year mastermind call. It is November 8th, and today we're going to go over chapters 7 through 11. I think I wrote 6 to 11 on the page, but it's really 7. I'm literally just through chapter 11, so I got to catch up. But chapter 7 was intentionality. So time is the most squandered of all personal resources. The average person wastes nearly 2 hours of each working day. That's absolutely true. I absolutely waste 2 hours a day scrolling Facebook, which I'm trying to cut down on. They have this new Farmville Tropics, so I'm deleting that off my phone. My son put it on there. So just these things that I do that totally waste my time. And I know scrolling Facebook's the biggest thing. Now when I do my power hour, which Michelle is very aware of what the Team Z power hour is, I will not, seriously, before this call, I was doing my power half hour. So I was doing all my follow-ups before this. And I have not looked at any messages that people wrote me back. I just messaged my list of people to follow up, which I had 20 people to follow up with. So I just messaged all 20 of those people, and people were sending me messages. The only message I responded was Barbie's message, just because she's my coach. So obviously I'm going to respond to her. But I have 15 messages that are unanswered, which is awesome, which is fantastic, because that means people are engaging with me. But I have not answered those 15 messages. So after this call, while I'm waiting for the recording to load, that's when I'm going to go back to those messages and answer those people. But I found that I would get distracted by email, get distracted by other messages, and not do what I'm supposed to do and get off task. And then I'd start scrolling Facebook and doing things that are not good for my time. Because even though this is my full-time job, I seriously have to have a list, and I have to do power half hours. This is exactly what I'm going to do this time, or I would just goof around and just, play with the baby and, as I said, scroll Facebook and play games and do things that are not helpful. Because my family is still my number one priority over my business. So they're always going to be number one. But I found if I had set power hours and exactly what I'm going to do, which power hour, it helps. Importance of yes and no. If you're not purposeful for how you spend your time, then you leave your results to chance. So our results are created by our actions. Be mindful about how you spend your time. You will know when to say yes and when to say no. I was a huge always say yes person. Now, not so much. It was even something Stuart asked me to do on a Sunday, and it was during time, which is seriously for family. And I said, no, can we do it tomorrow? And he said, yes. Guess what? It works out like that. You could say no something if it doesn't work out with your schedule. And if it's something that you really should do, say, well, how about this time? Do something that's going to work with your time. For me, Tuesdays work best for calls, just because Jake's gone on Tuesdays. My husband's home and can spend time with the baby on Tuesdays. So it's really about knowing what your priorities are and what things you can say yes and no to. So it's not enough to be busy. What are we busy about? So you can say, yeah, I'm so busy, but are you busy doing things that you should be doing or doing things you shouldn't? So blocking your time. If we take care of the minutes, the years will take care of themselves. Successful time use is intentional time use. So as I said, I block out in the morning, 8 to 8:30 for me is personal development. That's when I do my reading. 8:30 to 9:15, so my workouts are a little longer, is workout time. Then literally I have it scheduled out from 9:15 to 9:30. I'm going to be doing follow-ups. From 9:45 to 10, I'm going to be doing this. I have specifically what I'm going to do at what time. Sometimes it doesn't work out because I have a baby, but I try to do that as best I can. If I have to push it back, I push it back to a specific time slot. So they talked about performance time. So you should have strategic blocks, which are 3-hour blocks of uninterrupted time scheduled each week. For me, that is before Alex has woken up in the morning, after Jake's on the bus. So I have a specific uninterrupted time. Usually that's my personal development time. So 8 to 8:30 is uninterrupted. She's always asleep till at least 8:30. So that is my uninterrupted time. No phone calls, no faxes, no emails, no visitors. So as I said, personal development is my strategic blocks. Buffer blocks deal with all the unplanned low-value activities like emails and voicemails. Should be 1 30-minute buffer block per day. So for me, that's when the baby is taking her nap. So from 1 to 2, I'm doing training to better my business. From 2 to 2:30, I'm answering emails, messages, things like that. So some of the messages that I have pending aren't going to get answered until 2 o'clock tomorrow. That's just how it's going to be. You should have breakout blocks, taking time away from work. When you don't take time off from work, you can lose your creative edge. So that's how I don't understand some of the 15-star diamond coaches that literally work 80 hours a week. I couldn't do that. I don't know how they keep their creative edge, but I could never work 70, 80 hours a week. I found if I work 50 hours a week, I make the same amount of money as if I work 25 hours a week. So why work 50? If I have 25 hours a week that is focused, this is what I'm going to do at this specific time, I get more done. You should have at least 3-hour-long breakout blocks a day. For me, my breakout blocks are from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. My son gets home from the bus around 4, and we eat dinner, things like that. That's all. The phone's put away. You know, they get my 100% undivided attention. Or else they're always saying, Mom, why are you on your phone? So 3 hours long. Typically, it's from 4 to 7. Sometimes it goes till 8. It just depends on the day. So create you time in your days and weeks for effective execution. So this I used to be really good at. I used to get massages once a month. I haven't been doing that. I'll be honest. So I need to get back to doing that. So for me, that was a lot on that chapter. So chapter 8 was accountability is ownership. So accountability, most misunderstood concept in business and life. So obviously we have accountability groups. We do a lot about accountability. But accountability is not consequence, but ownership. You shouldn't want to escape from being accountable. The realization you always have a choice. Ultimately, you choose your actions, your results, and your consequences, and that's your accountability to yourself. So sure, me and Michelle have been accountable to each other, posting our power hours, but it's more about being accountable to ourselves. True accountability actively confronts the truth and freedom of choice, and the only accountability that truly exists is self-accountability. True. Chapter 9, interest versus commitment. Ability to make and keep commitments, improve results, build trust, and fosters high-performing teams. Commitment is an act, not a word, and commitment is a personal promise. So when I'm making a commitment to you guys, technically, for doing these calls, technically it's a personal promise to myself, because if I'm here doing these calls with you guys, I have to do the work. I know I'm helping keep you guys committed, so it's really a personal promise. Being accountable to you is just like talking to one of my customers who really needs to get back on track, just like I do. We're both going to do a 3-day refresh starting on Monday, even though I'm technically starting Quarter Force next Monday. I'm going to do a 3-day refresh as well. So it's just about being accountable to ourselves, but we're still having a personal promise. Unless commitment is made, there are only promises and hopes, but no plans. When things get difficult, we find reasons why we can't keep our promises, and we shift our focus to other activities. Keys to successful commitments: a strong desire, which is clear and personally compelling reasons. Keystone actions, what are core actions that will produce results. Counting the cost of your commitment requires sacrifice. So you need to identify the cost, what sacrifice that commitment's going to make. Act on commitments, not feelings. There will be times when you don't feel like doing the critical activities, so you need to learn to act on your commitments. My commitment is to do a power hour every single day. This Saturday and Sunday, I will not be doing a power hour, but that's because it's time with my family. So I'm balancing out the sacrifice with the commitment, and I still need to have time with my family. This is to celebrate our kiddos' birthdays, so that's important to me. So I'm going to work really, really hard this week to get everything done that I needed to do this week because I made a commitment. 12-week commitments are easier to keep. At the end of 12 weeks, reassess your commitments and begin again, which is really great advice. So chapter 10, greatness in the moment. Technology gives us very little downtime in our day. People are always on their phones. That's what technology has done. For those 3 hours I was talking about from 4 to 7, my phone is away. That is me staying away from technology. In our efforts to not miss anything, we unwittingly miss everything. People run so fast that they miss out on life. Slowly improving my business is okay with me. Instead of rushing and making myself be 5-star diamond, I would rather not work 80 hours a week. I would rather have my family my number one priority. I would rather not miss concerts, not miss sporting events, not miss things. When both my kids are in school full time, then you know what? I have that full 8 hours that they're gone to work. And that's how it'll be. And when they're in bed, I will work. So that's the time when I'm going to put in 12-hour days when they're both in school full time, and not work 80 hours a week in the summer because they're not in school. So that is my commitment. Is kids are only young once they're in school. Once you have that free time, I see in my mind, that's the best time to build this. Beachbody is still going to be around in 4 years. I don't think it's going anywhere. So for me, I don't want to miss out. I don't want to make too lofty goals and miss things. I want to steadily build my business instead of sprint. So performing in the moment. When does a champion become great? We achieve greatness the moment we choose to put in the effort. Each and every one of us has the God-given ability to be great. So all of us can be great. We can all be great coaches. We just have to be willing to put in the time, be willing to be consistent. And I think that's the hugest thing, is when I'm consistent, that's when I'm successful. So I'm at Success Club 4 right now. We're at November 8th. The last 2 months, I was at Success Club 0. I'm going to be honest with you guys. But I wasn't being consistent. This month, I promised myself I would be consistent. I promised myself I would do Power Hour 6 days a week. I promised myself that I would commit to drinking my Shakeology and working out every day. That's a commitment I made. And by being consistent like that, it's paid off in my business. I have about 5 or 6 prospects I'm talking to about coaching right now. I probably have 40 people that I'm forming right now for challenge packs. But you know what? It's not going to happen right now, but that's okay. I have 60 people in my free group. They're all people that I'm forming, except for 2 that for some reason left the group and blocked me. For what reason, I don't know. Because Beachbody hasn't even been mentioned in the Crackpot group at all. I don't know why people just decided they wanted to block me. Whatever, they can do that. That's fine. If out of 60 people, 2 people block me, I'm okay with that. So it's really just about building value and consistently building value and intentional imbalance. The biggest challenge, balancing our time and energy between work and family. Life balance is not about equal time in each area. It's more about intentional imbalance. So there's no such thing as work-life balance. There are work-life choices. Breaking your bigger goals into 12-week segments allows you to not only make consistent progress, but also to celebrate the milestones along the way. Reading that statement was huge to me because, you think about summit to summit is what a lot of us think about, is where am I at the summit? Where do I want to be next summit? And every year I say, I want to be 5-star diamond. Well, you know what? This year by summit, I want to be 3-star, and I want to be 3-star because Michelle and Jen work hard and I want to help them be diamond. Not because I want to be 3-star and I want to open a second business center and I want to make more money. No, I want to be 3-star because that means that I helped them reach their goals. And I've had this shift in the past few weeks in my mind, is that when I stop concentrating on myself, I'm going to help you guys make bigger strides. So I'm here to help you guys reach your goals, because if I'm helping you guys reach your goals, I'm going to reach my goals too, but it's going to mean more. So you should start with your vision and rate yourself in 7 areas of life balance. I haven't done this yet. I just literally read this morning. So spiritual, spouse, family, community, physical, personal, and business. I mean, just in my mind right now, rating them, this is just really off the top of my head, is for me, for spiritual, I'm at about an 8. For spouse, we're seriously at a 6. We have some work to do. Family, I feel, is really at a 9. Community is about a 7. Physical is low. Physical is 3. I'm doing really bad in that area. Personal is about 4, and business is about probably 5 or 6. That's just off the top of my head. That's not writing it down. With 10 being great and 1 being terrible. So each area is either a source of energy or a drain. So by having my physical rating be low, having my personal rating be low, that's draining me in all my other categories. And that's why I need a little bit more balance. I really talked for a long time, and I'm sorry about that. Michelle, what you got?
Okay. Let's see. Going back to chapter 7, intentionality. It really talked about kind of what I got out of it. You really don't realize how much time you're wasting until you actually stop and look at it and actually measure it. Yeah, the Facebook scrolling thing. Yeah, that's a big one for me, because you don't realize how much time you are totally wasting. So that's actually something that I've really worked on, and I'm getting better at it. And you don't, honestly, like, it's like an addiction. Like, I caught myself like thinking, oh, I wanted to be on Facebook scrolling, when that was a total waste of time. And so that's actually something that was kind of hard for me, and kind of a realization that I really didn't realize that I had. And being intentional with your time and purposeful with your time. I like the section that talked about taking your time and schedule it into blocks. You take one block and you do, the income producing things, the things that are really going to move you forward and move you towards your goal. And you set that into one block, and then you put into another time block, those things that are just kind of in between, like returning messages, that kind of thing. And then your blocks for you, your get away from work block. I know we all kind of get kind of driven towards our goals, and sometimes we forget about ourselves. And you can actually, I've noticed, and I'm bad about this, is when I get so focused on doing, what I feel like I'm doing to move my business forward, when my mind isn't as sharp, my mind isn't as clear, and when I'm talking to people, like, my conversations don't sound right, because I'm I guess spending too much time trying to do it, or trying to do it too hard, when I really need to step away from the computer, go do something else, get away from it, and then clear my mind and come back to it. And I'm a lot more effective that way.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of an aha thing for me. It's like, yeah, that's really true. I mean, you can sit in front of the computer for 6 hours and get absolutely nothing done, or you can do it for 1 hour and be focused and intentional with every minute you have and get a lot more done. So that was pretty huge for me. The chapter on accountability. We talk about accountability, and we always I didn't realize that we were so focused on other people's accountability, when it really comes down to the only person that you can be accountable for is yourself. And accountability is you for yourself. Mm-hmm. And so that is kind of changes your mind shift, because when you have clients and customers and stuff like that, you want to be their accountability, but really, in reality, the only one you can be accountable is to yourself.
Right.
Talking on interest versus commitment. That was really interesting, because there is a difference, and a commitment is a promise to yourself. And when you make a commitment, it's not just, I'd like to do this, or, I'd like to do that, or I would like for my life to be like this. No, if you really want it, you have to make a commitment. That's a promise to yourself. And there are sacrifices that come with that you have to, whether it's, time, away from your family, or time at night, or losing some sleep, whatever it may be. And so it takes action every single day in order to keep your commitment to yourself. Let's see. The next chapter talked about, the greatness in the moment. We're easily distracted, and when life happens, a lot of times you miss it if you're not paying attention. It can go by without you even noticing. And intentional imbalance, that was really interesting to me too, because when you hear about or imperfect imbalance, sorry, yeah, intentional imbalance. You talk about balancing, say, work and home. Well, I don't know, for some reason I always thought, well, it needs to be 50-50, because that makes sense, like if it's on a scale, it's half here and half there so that it's balanced, when that's really not how it works, and that's really not how it should work. It's never going to be a perfect balance, and that's okay, and that because that's the way it's supposed to be. But it's up to you to set your parameters as to where you want that balance to be, and that it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Because I know I've at times I've struggled with, gosh, I want it to be perfectly balanced, but there's no way for me to figure out how to get it to be that way, no matter what I do. And so with this type of thinking, it's like, okay, it's not going to be perfectly balanced 50-50, and that's okay. I just need to set my parameters as to where I'm comfortable with it being, and go from there. So yeah, and then you talked about the rankings, and that's just breaking it down and being honest with yourself. Where like measuring yourself. Where are you at? Where do you need to work on and improve? Where are your strengths and where are your weaknesses? And actually, I think it was John Maxwell that said, a lot of people, they always said, work on your weaknesses, when it's really not true. You need to, your strengths are what drive you. And so, there's certain things that you're going to be weak in, but you just have to acknowledge that that's not a strength of mine, but you don't want to spend all of your time on your weaknesses, because otherwise you will feel like you can't get them up to par. You can't get them up to where you feel like you need to, and it'll drag you down. So you need to use your strengths as well.
Right.
So.
Absolutely.
So yeah, each chapter seems like, gosh, this is really interesting. And what I've actually done with this is I've been intentional with my personal development, and I actually sit down with the book, take notes, and I read with it totally quiet the first thing in the morning.
Yeah, me too.
And so I'm actually thinking about it actually twice, because when I read it, I think about it, and then when I write it, I think about it. And if I feel like I'm getting more out of my personal development, and it may only be, 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, but I feel like I'm getting more out of it.
Right.
And I think it's because I'm being more intentional with my time, and I'm not distracted. So that's really helped me too.
I was the person that always was listening to podcasts in the car. And I can't take notes. I'm not going to do anything with it. I just wouldn't do anything with it. I would just listen to it. And I wouldn't act on any of it or change anything.
Right.
Or just, when Jake gets on the bus, I sit down with the book and a notebook, and I sit down for about 20 minutes, and read it. And, she's still asleep. It's quiet. It's just me. Because I would try to fit it in at the end of the day and get the reading done. And by then I would just be done.
You're right. Right.
I think that was Amy Porterfield. I learned that from, to do your personal development, you work out first.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people, a lot of really successful people, when they talk about kind of their morning rituals or whatever, I kind of notice they all kind of have a same pattern, I guess, to take care of yourself first. And I know in Paul Tracy's No Excuses book, he talked a lot about that as well.
Right.
You have to take care of yourself first. You have to make yourself a priority. And that makes a lot of sense, because it sets the tone for your whole day.
And if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to help anybody.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, I think that's all I had.
All right.